Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the NTU India Connect webinar, as one of you people just said.
Malvika.
So, yeah, Malvika. Okay. So, let me start off by basically just giving you an insight into what NTU India Connect expects from what you can expect from NTU India Connect, and what NTU expects from you. So you can think of this like think of it like you have a lot of topics to do research on in NTU, but the professors that do actually apply for NTU India Connect program are limited. So they have an entire roster of topics. So basically, what they expect from you is that you go through those topics which are available on the application website, and along with that, you start forming your interests. So the application period, I think, is from 1st November to 31st December. So whoever is interested, I suggest that you guys, start looking at those topics and start finding out what each of those topics mean, and what you're expected to do in the internship. So you have a good idea of what you're selecting. Right. So moving on, as you can see, this is a picture I took in when I was there in Singapore. This is the harbor area. You have a lot of time to move around and explore the place. So it's going to be fun if you do get selected. Let's just skip the rules. I mean, these are for. Let's just skip them. Okay. So as Malvika introduced me, I'm Bhanu Pranav. I prefer to go by the name Pranav, and I passed out from the Department of Mechanical Engineering this year in NIT Warangal, and I'm currently pursuing my master's in mechanical engineering in the specialization of robotics at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, USA. So, like I've listed here, my field is robotics, and I approach it from a mechanical and electronics point of view, which means that it involves a lot of calibration and mechanical systems and vector algebra and manipulator kinematics and dynamics. And so basically it involves a lot of force torque relationships for robot arms, and how you manipulate them, how you simulate them in Orvis, if you guys are familiar with that. So that's kind of what I did in my NTU research internship as well. In fact, doing that in NTU had gave me a good perspective of what I want in my master's. So you should keep that in mind as well when you're applying. Right. So like Malvika said, NTU stands for Nanyang Technological University, and well, if you ask me why did I choose NTU Singapore, I mean, I did not choose NTU Singapore. It was one of the top priorities for me. Like as you can see, it is one of the best colleges in Asia, and of course, the when you're going for research, the first few things that you should always keep in mind are well, the how big and how extensive the library of the institution is, how well the infrastructure is maintained, and what kind of labs do they have, and what kind of equipment they use in the labs, and those are the kinds of things that you should keep in mind when you're going for research. I'm hoping that you guys can hear me. Can someone just confirm that? Hello?
Yeah, you're audible. No worries.
Okay. Okay, so apart from that, you can also, of course, look for, you can look for campus life as well. But on a general basis, most universities which which are ranked high in the world, are pretty good, have pretty good campus life as well. Like back in NTU, we had like 16 different halls of residence to choose from, and each hall had like about 200, 300 rooms. And so basically, what I want to say is that the facilities that they provide you will be top notch. So like you'll have all sorts of things, like you'll have playing areas, and you'll have courts, like tennis courts and volleyball courts, and you have jogging tracks, and you have gyms and swimming pools, and you have lounges to for recreation. You have an entire supermarket inside the campus as well. And then you have student activity center, like we do in the in at NIT, except that it's way bigger. So as for campus life, as long as you are interested, and as long as you go out looking for stuff to do, there's plenty of stuff to do while you're researching in Singapore. Right. So NTU India Connect is basically NTU's attempt to strengthen relations with Indian, what we call institutes of national importance in India, mostly with them. So the first step to NTU India Connect is actually being in an NIT or an IIT, which all of you are. So that's a good thing. And what they expect from you here is that you have a good idea. Like I said before, you have a good idea of what exactly you want to do. Because if you if like while you're applying, like when you're applying, they expect you to describe your past educational qualifications, and describe what exactly you want to do there. So you have to be specific. That's why the term is only 2 to 6 months. Like if you're not specific, like for example, I'm pursuing my master's right now, and my research field is not I mean, it's decided it's going to be in robotics, but it's not specifically decided at what part of robotics. So I do have 2 years to decide and pursue whichever field in robotics that I want to do. But this kind of an internship does not have that kind of time. So you have to be specific from the beginning. That's what NTU India Connect is all about: specific goals and specific research motivations to uh, you know do your summer internship as a research assistant at NTU. The biggest advantage is that you'll be working under international faculty at NTU. So those people are pretty pretty famous people in their respective fields. Like my mentor at NTU Singapore was the region, like he was the co-founder of the second largest journal in robotics, and he was the sitting head of he was the then sitting head of the Asian Robotics Organization. So you have like and if you look at their profiles, if you look at their resumes, then you have a good idea that those people have actually done stuff, and they are credible people who can mentor you, and give you a good in-depth experience into exploring your research options there. So that's what NTU India Connect mainly attempts to do. And right, so the procedure is, um, I mean, those who have at least sat for campus placements, campus internships, or any internships before should know that there's always an application that you have to submit with relevant documents, like your mark sheets, and you have to give academic referee letters and a recommendation letter in this case. So that's three. Make sure that you do give three, because one of my friends back when I was applying gave only two, thinking you just need to give only the academic referee letters, and his application was they just said that it's incomplete and so they didn't process it. So you have to be careful when you're interpreting what they're asking for in the application, the in the application. So, I mean, you can always reach out to the people at NTU India Connect. They have a separate dedicated office for this particular program. So, if all you have to do is put in a mail at their mail address, and they'll respond to you within 1 or 2 days. So the NTU, the NTU online application system is like if you just go and type on Google saying NTU India Connect, then it'll direct you to their page where you can find the application form and the rules, and of course the most important part, the application deadlines. Make doubly sure that you're at least 15 to 20 days ahead of the deadline. So I'd suggest by December 11th to 15th you should be done with your application, because there is always a chance for an incomplete or a wrong document, and you have to replace the entire application, which kind of happened with me. So you have to make sure that you have a cushioning time for that. Okay, now I did say check out the links in the chat box, but the links, I can't simultaneously type and share my screen on Meet. So that's what I said. If you just type NTU India Connect on Google, and you go to the first link, it'll direct you to all that you'll need, including the application form link. Right. So once you apply for the program, of course you'll need a valid passport for that, because they ask for a passport number. Or you also have an option where you can say that you're in the process of acquiring a passport, so you have some other identification like Aadhaar that you can give. So that's all about the application. I mean, I don't think as far as I think I've talked to Vivek and Bristi about this. I have come like I've been told that you guys don't have to write SOPs this year. So that's that. I mean, you just have to describe your educational qualification, which is not much of an SOP, but it does. I mean, you do have to portray your qualifications as intended for the research topic that you wanted to do. Like, for example, before coming to NIT, I was a part of the robotics club at my school. So we used to do zero research, and we just used to play around with the stuff that we had. But the way I wrote it was that I guess I wrote it like exploring new ways to solve existing new exploring new solutions to existing solved problems in mobile robots at school, and then described what exactly we did. So that kind of language and that kind of depiction of what you have done, specifically streamlined towards what you want to do, always helps a lot when you're describing your past achievements. Okay, so let's just take a minute here. Does anybody have a specific question about the procedure that you want to know?
Yes, Bhanu. I think Sumandata has some questions.
Okay,
Does the
go
college
ahead.
brands matter? He has written it in the chat box, so I'll read it out to you. Does the
Okay.
college brands matter? I am from a tier 3 college. What would be the best possible prerequisite to back such opportunities? And can
Um,
final year students apply?
okay. Hold on. I don't think I can hear you. Can you repeat that once?
Yeah, I'm saying the question is, does college brands matter? What would be the first? Yeah,
Does
you go ahead.
college brand matter? So, I mean, well, it does not specifically. All right. So, I'm sorry about that. I was just saying that when you are from from a college of national importance, it does not matter. But if you are from tier three or tier four college, or a private university which does not have national standing in India, then you have to show that the like you have to show, like, you have to specifically show why uh, being from such a college is does not hamper your ability to perform research at that international level, because uh, as far as our college enrollments go after 12th standard, after high school, uh, the kind of college that you're in basically speaks about what kind of studying and effort putting ability you have. I mean, not I'm not saying that that's always true, but it generally is, and people do look at it like a good metric of to show how goal driven or how driven you are. So yes, to some extent it does matter, but only till you. But if you can show that you haven't been restricted because of the lack of infrastructure on your at your college, or lack of motivation at your college, then it always helps. Because I mean, if I have to give you my example, then when I applied, 60 students were selected and 59 were from IITs, and I was the only guy from an NIT. So I mean, that does go to say that they do take stuff like that into consideration. And if you're from, like, let's just say that if the IITs are tier one colleges and NITs are tier 1.5, then even that matters, because they will, like, the IIT brand is a trusted brand outside India, it's at least in Asia, and the NIT brand comes next. So you need to have a equally strong, like an even stronger profile than most IIT students to get considered, right? So that's kind of how things work always. I mean, even for masters,
Yeah.
they do look for stuff like this, but that's just one of the metrics they look for. So it's not like, if you're some tier 4 college and they don't even recognize the name, and it's not an IIT or an NIT, then they'll just chuck your application out the window. They're not going to do that, but they will keep in mind that you're not from the best institutes in India. So it matters, but
Okay, I
not so
think
much.
I think we understood. Okay, the
Okay.
next question is, what will be the best positive possible prerequisite to bag such opportunities?
Best possible prerequisite. It depends on what kind of opportunities you're talking about. Like, if you're talking about research, then it depends on what kind of research you want to do. Is it a product oriented research, like you do in tech companies or any kind of companies, or is it solution kind of research, where what people do at universities. So I would say that the best prerequisite that you can have is good grades in your previous years, especially in subjects that you think are important for the field that you're going to research in. So let's just say that you want to research in thermal engineering. So your thermodynamics grade should be good, because that shows that you have a good grasp of the fundamentals which will be required in thermal engineering. So that's kind of what matters most at this level. And if you go to the next level, which is a post graduation and PhD, then what prerequisites they look for is the first level that we speak about, that I just spoke about, like what research that you have already done, and what's the complexity of that research, what kind of research is it, and what results you got doing that research, how much time you put into it, and stuff like that.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
I am also from mechanical engineering department as you are. Now I am in
Okay.
my seventh semester, and my research interest inclined to microfluidics. I mean fluid and thermal.
Okay.
So can it be more specific from your side? Otherwise, I can get back to you over mail if you provide your mail address and so on.
No, I didn't. I'm not sure I got you. Can you repeat that? Your specific research interest is in fluid dynamics
Yeah,
and thermal.
fluid thermodynamics. I mean fluid and thermal, microfluidics, nanofluidics, and so on.
Okay, so what do you want to ask?
The thing is that I mean you told for thermodynamics the grades, I mean for thermal inclined research the thermodynamics grades should be more so the whole thing that you told, I mean can it be more specific regarding the phenomenal thing I told that if I am going to go forward research towards microfluidics and nanofluidics and till now grade is around 9 point, and the thing is that my college is a state government college from West Bengal, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have that much of brand value. Okay, what you mentioned. So
Okay.
I mean, what do you think? It will be a trendy situation for me or not? I mean, how can I take it forward?
You have to, like I said before, you have to show what you've done up until now in your field of research. Like, do you read papers in fluids and thermodynamics?
Yeah,
Do you?
actually, I already did two internship. One from IIT Guwahati and another one is from CISI NML. And I already presented something in national conference. So portfolio was not that much of good, but kind of good is I have. So
All right. So I'd suggest that you don't really have to focus on grades now because you've done the first. You have already done two internships in your field of interest. So forget about the grades. If you have, like you said, you presented papers in a national conference and you have done two internships at the places you mentioned, I'd suggest that you specifically try to show that the research that you have done in your field of interest has you've learned something from it, and the result that you've got is close to the goal that you wanted to achieve when you started that internship. And if you do that, then no matter what kind of portfolio you have, people get to know that you have a research oriented mindset, and that matters a lot. That's what they're going to look for when you're applying for these kinds of internships. Does that answer your question? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
So
Okay.
Sumit, I guess your answer already got addressed. If not, then we can like go ahead with the webinar right now, and you can connect back to us. You can text the IG page, or I'll even provide with few email IDs. You can drop an mail, and we'll get in touch with you.
Yeah, that
Sure.
sounds like a good that sounds like a
So
good idea.
Actually, if we can address just two more questions before this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So there's a lot of questions about who can apply to this webinar internship, second
Okay.
years, third years, and in final years. If you would shed some light on that.
All right. So basically, like I have given here, it's a 2 to 6 months internship that they have. So it's only for us as far as undergrads are concerned. It's for pre-final year students. So students who have finished their third year or will be finishing their third year next March.
Okay.
As far
And the
as
next.
and
Okay.
as far as MTech students are concerned, then that will be students who have finished their first year of MTech study in India. So your college has to be in India, and you should be a current student of that college to apply.
Okay. Thanks for that. And the next question is there any eligibility criteria regarding your GPA or academics?
Oh no. There is no eligibility criteria. There is no cutoff, if that's what you mean. But they do look for a good GPA. Good GPA shows, like I said, your understanding of the fundamentals.
Okay. Yeah, that will be all for now. We can move on and address the rest of the questions later on.
All right. Sounds good. Okay, fine. So let's now let's just say that you have sent your application along, and the NTU people are happy with your application and you get selected. I mean, I'm not saying that it's easy. It is tough. You do have a lot of competition from pretty good colleges around India, but you should always hope for the best. So let's uh, let's go ahead and see what happens if you do get selected for the NTU India Connect internship. So as you can see in the picture, that's my student identity card in NTU, and that's my student identity card, and the number you see is my student identification number. It's a lot like our registration number at NIT. So that card that you get is valid for life, and you will always be an NTU alumnus the second you get that card. So the email that the email with the good news usually comes in mid of February. Like I do remember, I was walking to write my last midterm, and this email dropped by and made my day. So after you do get selected, there are a lot of other procedures. You have to send in documents. You need to get verification from the Singapore Ministry of Manpower, and yes, of course, the TEP. The TEP basically stands for Training and Employment Pass that you need. It's like a work permit. They don't call it a work permit, but you need it, and like they don't give you a visa. The visa is on arrival. So this TEP pass and the TEP credentials that you're going to get from NTU are very important. So you need to keep in touch with them. Like once you get selected, you need to keep in touch with them and uh, make sure that these documents are properly stored, properly you know where what you know what you have to do at the Indian immigration and the Singapore immigration, because people are pretty particular about stuff there. So you can't get confused and say that um, it doesn't work out that way. So you need to be perfect with the immigration and immigration procedures. So that's that's all about the travel oriented stuff. One suggestion that I do have to give is the internship usually starts around May 11th or May 12th, in that week, the first Monday of that week, and ends exactly 2 months after that. So if you book return tickets, if you book return tickets, then it'll cost you less. And as for accommodation in Singapore, if you go to their site, they do have a lot of stuff they have to say. But the good news is that you have accommodation. They'll give you accommodation for 2 months, and that's free. So you don't have to pay for it. Otherwise, it's pretty expensive. You have to pay for food, and you don't get vegetarian in Singapore. So you need to prepare for that. So that's the irrelevant stuff regarding the NTU, India Connect program. And then after this, let's talk. I'm going to talk about, what you can do while you're researching and what you can do while you're not researching in Singapore now. Like sell the NTU India Connect program to you guys so that, more people are interested in applying. Yeah, so as you can see on the top left hand side, that's the board you see. That's the main entrance. Like, unlike universities here or the universities that we're used to, they don't have gates and fences. It's just an open community that is integrated into the city. Like, you'll have city buses coming into the campus, and campus buses going out into the city and stuff like that. So um, but that's basically considered that's what is considered as the main entrance to NTU. So it's a pretty big campus. There is a road that circles the campus. It's about 14-15 kilometers long, and it's also one of the longest jogging tracks there. And as for the research part, uh, The top right-hand picture shows the School of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering, which is where I was conducting my research. So they have like about 9 floors, 9 floors there, and a few of the floors have been given to labs, and the lab equipment is like updated every 10 years. So if you go next year, then you'll probably be dealing with all new equipment. So that's a pretty good that's a pretty good incentive, because if you guys see, then research depends a lot on how much of equipment and what kind of infrastructure you have. So as for the research itself, you are free to access any room that is open to the public, and any resource, as long as you have your ID card and the permit, and your professor deems it necessary. Like, you can't go into the biotech lab and say, I want to use this lab, if you're researching in robotics. But you can go into any robotics or mechanical engineering lab and say that, I kind of want this, and the lab technicians there will help you out with whatever you need. So doing research is pretty easy. Like, the background stuff that you need for research, acquiring that, and working with that is pretty easy. There is always someone to help you. So you have a lot of time to focus on the problems that you need to solve while researching, like faulty code, or a hardware that does not respond the way you want it to respond, and stuff like that. So the research experience is pretty good. I mean, it's not. I mean, I'll actually say that it's perhaps one of the best that a third year student can expect for right now, given the conditions that normal students or average students are put to. Apart from the all study part, Singapore is actually one of the hotspots for entertainment as well. As you can see on the bottom left hand side, that's Universal Studios. It's one of the biggest Universal Studios in Asia, and Universal Studios is basically the production house for a lot of Hollywood films, and so it's a lot like Disney World. Not that good, but pretty good, and you can have a lot of fun here. So as long as you, like I said before, as long as you go looking for the kinds of fun that you want, there is always something new to explore in Singapore for the 2 months. And believe me, I mean, last year when I went to Singapore, it was the fourth time that I did, and and still, I had enough to explore and have fun. So there is no dearth to the kind of enjoyment you can have here. And the bottom right is just basically another shot of the first picture, the first background picture that I showed you. Right. So that's just about how you can, research and enjoy in Singapore while you're there. And okay, so I'm gonna go and talk about my personal experience now. So I'm gonna take 5 minutes and talk about this. And so, like I said before, my project was based on robotics, computer vision, and applying computer vision for general robots. So you don't know what kind of application that robot will be used for. So you have to develop a computer vision that can solve a huge set of problems. So that's kind of what I worked on. So I had a team of five, four IITians and me, and it's basically like any other teamwork that you do. You sit, you brainstorm, and then you divide work, and you decide to meet again at the same place at the same time, and you do brainstorming again, and you divide work again, and you keep working like that. And you that's kind of how you do research at this level. So, and one more thing that is very important is weekly checkpoints. Weekly checkpoints basically mean your review sessions with your mentor. So you have to meet him every week at a pre-appointed date, and a pre-appointed day and time, and you have to discuss your progress with him, because he's going to you know judge, and he'll be the person who's going to tell the India Connect people if you have actually done a good job, or if you're worthy of the certificate and stuff like that. So for the weekly checkpoints, what we used to do was we each used to maintain a diary of what we learned every day, of what we achieved every day, and what each week was basically what we did each week. So it was an 8 week internship. So no, it was a 10 week internship, and we had 10 weeks worth of diary material to refer to when we were writing our SOPs later, and like later after coming back to India. So that's what point three, point four, and point five basically are: mentoring sessions every week, and noting down what those mentoring sessions are, what you're doing there, what you're doing in the brainstorming sessions, and what kind of work your professor expects you to do, what kind of work you did. You have to make a good record of that, because it's going to help you a lot. And apart from that, like, my personal experience was that apart from working on a general vision application that I said before, the mentor is pretty open to new ideas that you have. So I had an idea of, differentiating between a passive face, like the face you have on an ID card, and a real face, like, the face you generally have in reality. So how do you differentiate between an ID card and a real person? So I had a new idea for that, and he kind of encouraged me to work on it side by side, and I was able to publish a good paper in the NTU journal. So that was kind of the that was like that's what diverse research opportunities mean. Like, they don't ask you to focus on the stuff that you are asked to do. They encourage you to work more, find out more, learn more, and eventually deliver more than you. I mean, they're always happy if you're going to deliver more than what you expected to deliver. And finally, the opportunity that I was offered at NTU was that I could finish my seventh and eighth semesters there at NTU and get a combined degree with both NIT and NTU, logos on my degree. But the problem that happened with me was that I didn't know that NIT had that my college, NIT Warangal, had a way to actually do that. So I was offered a position there, and in the final year, but the administrative staff here in college did not respond favorably. So I had to forego it, only to learn later in my eighth semester that was actually possible, and I could have done my internship in my entire fourth year there. So you need to keep your eyes open for stuff like this, because this kind of stuff can actually completely change it can overturn your the credibility that you have. I mean, if completely based on the kind of research you do on 2 months, you get offered a seat at NTU, at one of the best colleges in the world, then that is like a huge testament to your skill and talent. So you should keep your eyes open for this. You should keep your ears open for this, and you should basically be alert for such opportunities, and keep in constant touch with them. And so that's kind of what I did. I mean, I'm not at liberty to share exactly what I did in my research, so that's kind of something that I can't share. But that's most of my personal experience regarding the research. As for the fun part, like I said, each person has his own definition of fun. My own definition was, using the swimming pool and the gym and the jogging tracks, and playing with playing volleyball and tennis with the local students there. So if your definition of fun is nightclubs and long walks along the beach, or going to Sentosa Island and doing some high adrenaline action stuff, then that works too. You have options for all of that in Singapore. So, but do focus on the research. That's the most important part. Right. So we applied to NTU, and then we got selected for NTU. We finished the procedures that happen after our selection to NTU, and we did the research internship. Now we are in July and we're about to finish. We just finished our proposed goals, and we're about to leave for India in, like, say, a week. What do you do now? The most important part, this is the most important part of your research internship. What do you do after your research is over? The first thing, maintain amicable communication with your mentor, because my mentor is still in touch with me, and we do talk a lot about upcoming robotics stuff, and give each other ideas. We can't collaborate right now because I'm working with another university, but we talk a lot about stuff, and we he helps me out a lot, I help him out a lot, and so that kind of relationship will always go a long way in the future, because you're making good contacts, and that's what matters when you get out of this well of college and post graduation, and you start competing in the international world. Those kinds of connections will actually matter a lot. So maintaining amicable communication with your mentor is very, very important. And then of course you have to report your work. Without the report, you won't get the certificate. So you have to give a brief report of the work. So third year students, I'm not sure if you have any experience writing reports for papers. I think some of you might, some of you may not. Fourth year students who are working on their projects right now should know. I think the first 1 or 2 months of checkpoints must have passed already. So you guys must have had an idea of how to report your project. So that's kind of how you report. You report what you did in each week, and what the goals were, how well they were achieved, and stuff like that. Basically, in a third person's perspective, you should report what you have done in the past 2 months, and make your case, about showing that you did not waste your time and their time as well. And of course, the last part, we have to leave Singapore now because our training and employment pass runs out in a few days. And for me, this was the toughest part, not because I was starstruck, but because I kind of loved the NTU campus a lot, and I was really hoping to come back there. And that's just about it. I mean, leaving that kind of an experience behind in your past is like one of the most difficult things that I feel you could do ever. So that's about the research internship. And now, before we move on to this part is basically how you cite your research internship and how you portray your internships into your final master's SOP or your resume. Before we move on to this, does anybody have any questions? Hello?
Bhanu, I guess we can just finish off with the PPT and then address questions all together. That's be better because we have a dedicated Q&A session.
Okay, fine. That works too. So, right now you finish your internship, and then you're in August now. You're in August now. You're in September. The master's applications have started. Campus placements have started. So this is where the diary is going to help a lot. You have made a report of every day of your work, and you can refer to that all the time. I mean, I refer to my diary even now when I'm stuck somewhere in my present research. So so that diary is going to help you a lot. I mean, a lot of my teammates and my friends and at NTU, slacked off. They didn't maintain the diary, and that resulted in a lot of problem that they faced while applying for their masters. They did not know what to write. They did not know how to write it. So the diary is important. Period. The diary is always important. And so second point, now you have research experience. You should use it. I mean, you have another year of college left, and generally the fourth year is easygoing as compared to the third and second years. So you have research experience, you know how to do research, you know how to approach research problems. So you should use that experience in your college. You should try to find opportunities, go talk to your professors that are interested in this kind of work. So I found a professor in the electronics and communication department who was interested in robotics, and we kind of worked on pretty cool projects after that. So that's kind of how it works. That's kind of how research experience works. So once you have it, you can use it to go further wherever you are. So you should always take time, and you should always make sure that you use that opportunity. And now for the master's SOPs, we'll go to the next slide for this. And this is the fourth point, is something that I already talked about: maintaining amicable communication with your mentor and the research supervisor there. So you have to make sure that you keep in touch and talk, and just generally keep in touch and discuss new stuff, discuss old stuff, and discuss possible solutions and possible problems. Remember, in research, the solution is not as important as the problem itself. There can be 100 solutions to a single problem, but no one solution can address all 100 problems. So remember that always. Problems are way more important in research than solutions, because, like I said just now, that a single solution cannot solve 10 problems, but one problem can have 10 solutions. Right, now connecting the dots. Connecting the dots is basically a slide that is dedicated to connecting each of your internships and making a reasonable a cohesive chain to show that you have actually been working towards your field of interest. So, like the poster says, I did an internship at NTU. I did an internship at Forge Accelerator Coimbatore. Before that, before coming to robotics, I was interested in thermal engineering. I was interested in energy production. So I did two more internships in a company called Veolia. It's a French company, and um, it's basically about power plants and thermodynamics and thermal engineering and stuff like that. So those internships, technically, what people would do was would what technically people would do would be to not cite those internships anywhere in your SOPs, but that is not a good thing to do. I mean, um, when you're connecting the dots, there's always something common in all of your internships. Like, you should actually take a lot of time to think and answer this one for yourself. Like, not on the presentation right now, the but generally when you're writing your SOP or your resume, you must think, you must introspect before you connect the dots and um show the prospective employer or the university that what you have done in the past 4 years, past 6 years since high school is not actually a meaningless waste of time, but in fact was helped you develop in ways that you did not expect. So my interest in robotics and artificial intelligence came from my second internship in thermal engineering, when I kind of designed uh, a machine learning solution for one of the power plants they had. And that's just how I kind of diverted myself from thermal engineering and came to robotics, found my real interest in life. And so those internships matter too, because without those internships I would have never found robotics, right? So so you have to connect the dots like that. um, Specifically at the like look at the first point. Deeplearning.ai is a company on Coursera which gives courses on deep learning. I took one of these courses while doing mechanical engineering in third year, so and fourth year. So that is not, that's not simple per se. I mean, you have to put a lot of effort. You have to manage time. You don't have much time for hanging out and going to restaurants and places to eat, and for movies and stuff like that. But But the thing is that, I mean, you have to manage time. You have to make sure that your college requirements are met and your research requirements are met. And after that, if you have time, then your recreation requirements are met as well. So what I used to do was that um, I used to miss a lot of classes, which I suggest none of you do because attending class is very important. But what I used to do in college was that I used to study ahead. Like, I used to stay ahead of the class. And whenever I used to attend classes, it used to be like a revision. So that's kind of how I found it easy to manage my time and give more time to my research goals and stuff like that. So everybody can have a strategy of their own. You could, say that I'm fine with studying one day before the exam. I can manage it. So you study just one day before the exam while giving most of your time to research. So that's another strategy that you could use. So that's kind of how you have to manage time while you're doing this because you can't always expect to do research in the exact fields that you're taking courses in. Most of my courses were mechanics and kinematics and dynamics, while my research was computational, focused on code and simulation. So that's almost diametrically opposite. So you have to you have to be prepared for the worst. So that's kind of how you manage time. That's kind of how you connect the dots between your internships, plural internships. So
Hello, Pranav.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying that we have a lot of questions in the chat box, and we are running out of time. So if you could like
Yeah, we're
sort of
done
hurry
here.
up to this,
Right, we're done here.
great. Yeah, then we can go on to the questions and see what's left. Should I start with the questions?
No, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen right now, and I'm gonna read the questions myself. Thank you.
Great.
Right, chat box. Where do I start from?
Okay, we have covered initial few questions, so I think you can start from Siddharth Rao Soma.
Okay, so you mentioned that you had to change your application. If you don't mind, why did you have to change your application? Like I said before, that my application was, like when I described my previous goals and, when I gave the documents that they required, they did not have, it was not according to the format that they wanted. I don't remember specifically what the mistake was, but they get back to you pretty quickly about this. So my problem was the format in which I had presented my details was not clear to them. So I had to redo it according to their guidelines and send it back again. My application was not cancelled, but yeah, so that's kind of what happened. All right, the eligibility criteria. So I answered that already. Can second years apply? No, you can't because you need to finish at least 5 semesters before you apply for this internship. That's the minimum requirement. NTU India Connect is not open for final years. It's open for only pre-final years. And although you do have a lot of other opportunities in NTU, if you you have to mail the professors that you're interested to work with, and if you do that, then they get back to you, and you can discuss what you want to do in the summer, and you can do stuff like that. That's kind of how it works there. If you email them, then it helps. All right. Previous research internship compulsory? No, no. I did not have a previous research internship. I had a previous product related internship. So it's not compulsory, but you have to describe what you did well, whatever you did previously. And the selection procedure, what is the role of faculty under whom we will be doing work? Is it preferable we will no, you should never pre-email them because it comes as they take it as you trying to influence their decision, so you should never ever pre-email them. But yeah, the role of the faculty is the faculty will go through your application and see what you want to do, see what he wants to do, and the faculty basically has to agree to take you as as an apprentice under him. So only the faculty agrees to take you, you will be given an admission. So that's the faculty's role. A master's in data science. What all subjects should we have good scores in? Off the top of my head, well, data structures, and I'm not really sure about data science, but um, should generally be good in programming and data structures and logic-based problem solving. And I think that's just about it. I don't have much experience in data science. You might have to search a bit, but yeah, data structures is important. Okay. No, not travel expenses, but stay expenses, yes. NTU does cover your expenses. It gives you a room free of cost for 2 months. The travel expenses you'll have to put in yourself. I think it's about 27,000. Um, each time you go from India to Singapore or Singapore to India. And all right, you had mentioned that you were the only non-IITian who got into this intern. What do you think made you stand out and back this intern? Um, well, I can't speak for the NTU India Connect people, Siddhartha. I can't speak for them, but and I will not be obtuse enough to praise myself. But I guess if I did get selected, then it has something to do with the professor, happy with what I had already done and my skill level. So it's it's basically whether you can convince a professor or not about what you can and can't do. So that's kind of what made me stand out, if you will. I'm not sure what they thought, and I don't think I thought much about this, but that's kind of what happened. After someone gets the internship, okay, I just said, okay. Um, no, I think I didn't mention this part while I was talking in the presentation. The part, Shubham Das, the part where I said the way you portray your previous internships, the way you portray your skills, it has a lot to do with what that person, the faculty that you have chosen. You can choose three faculty people, by the way. You can only choose three. So it depends on what each of them feels about you and what you have written. If you do a Google summer of code, which is a pretty good thing to do, and you state it like you just did some coding in the summer, then nobody's going to be happy with that. So it depends on how you portray yourself, how you talk about yourself. It shouldn't be too boisterous. At the same time, you shouldn't be underhanding yourself at the same time. So as an NITian, I would say that my research aptitude and the way I approach problems, and that's what I described in my letter to the professor with the application. Mind you, with the application, I did not send an email separately. So yeah, so that's kind of what I did. I mean, uh, you know, I I kind of described how I approach problems, and that's kind of what he wanted in a student that he'd be mentoring. So that's how it worked out. Okay. What projects have you worked on in internships you did before the NTU India Connect? Um, okay, before NTU India Connect, I worked on see-through tank armor for Forge, that is basically augmented reality. And before that, I worked on serial manipulator link, a robotic arm with two, and then three, and then four, and then five and six joints in that increasing order. and I worked on the general computer vision projects that you work on, like stuff like facial recognition and object recognition and obstacle detection and goal selection and stuff like that. That's kind of what I worked on mostly. As we are now applying for 2 months intern, are we restricted to opt topics which are not of 5 months? I'm not sure I understand this question. And whoever has posted this, can you please come back to me after we are done with the rest of the questions? Stipend. Yeah, the stipend. I didn't get any stipend because um, they intended to select only 40 students, but ended up selecting 60. So they did not give any stipend. They promised, like they did say they would, but they didn't give any. Second year civil engineering, admiring to become a professor. I want to go for higher studies, preferably abroad in physics. Will this type of internship help with that? Of course. I mean, you do have a lot of research in physics going on in NTU. So if you apply for the um, specific fields that you're interested in physics and do the internship in that field, then of course it's going to help. It's going to help a lot actually. All right. Now Cgpa criteria, as I heard, is quite selective for higher Cgpa students. Average CGPA of people getting selected. The average CGPA of people getting selected was around 8.3, Shantanu, because I mean, that's kind of how I remember people talking there, like most of the NTU India Connect students. The average was around 8.3, 8.5. But the standard deviation was not that much because the lowest person was 8.2 or 8 point yeah, it was around 8.1 or 8.2, and the highest was around 9.5. That was an off case. So yeah, that's kind of how yeah, and it's quite selective for higher CGPA students because, like I said, CGPA shows your understanding of the fundamentals. There is nothing you can do to discount the fact that your fundamentals are strong and your CGPA shows that, because unless your fundamentals are strong, you can't score a high CGPA, right? So okay, how much it costed in total, including travel, daily life, etc. Um, okay, I'm going to say that this question will depend a lot on you how you define daily life. But for me, um, it costed about 1.5 lakhs, including gifts and all. If you exclude gifts and you just take food expenses every day and other stuff like going out and eating with your friends or the locals, then you can say that you have to shell out about 11 to $15 a day. That amounts to 11 to 15 multiplied by 70 days. So that's kind of how you calculate. I'm not sure what the conversion rate is for the Singapore dollar to Indian rupee right now, but that's kind of the average amount of money that you will be spending each day for food and stuff. If you're a vegetarian, if you're a non-vegetarian, then you'll be spending less because non-veg is cheaper in Singapore. Okay. In the resume for this intern, can one mention research interns which aren't relevant to the field, or just leave the column blank? Um, You can, of course, mention research interns that aren't relevant to the field, but I would like to ask you a counter question. Why would you choose a research internship which is not relevant to your field in the first place? Like, if you've done a research internship in a field, then it obviously means you were interested in that, right? In that field. Why would you choose a field that you are not interested in? And if you choose a field that you're interested in right now, then it shouldn't matter. You can always mention the research interns before and still apply for this one, saying that you did that and this is kind of related to that in some way, and go ahead with that kind of an approach. Can you emphasize on the field of robotics in 2 minutes, real quick? Doing masters at Johns Hopkins is really cool, and I want to know what and how you went about this to get there? Like, what was the strategy? Okay, Shaik, I'm not sure that I can do that on the webinar time. So why don't you just ask for my contact details? In fact, I am going to give my contact details to you once the meeting is over. Then we can talk for a while. Okay. What was your CGPA when you applied? I'm okay to disclose. I was the 9.5 off case. My CGPA was 9.5 when I applied. As you told, you are pursuing your master's in Johns Hopkins University. If you don't mind, then can you please tell why you prefer it for your master's instead of NTU, and how professors, colleagues, and research facilities are different in these two countries, these two universities? Okay. The main reason why I didn't go for my major in research-oriented masters in Nanyang is that uh, because, well, Johns Hopkins is ranked above Nanyang, and apart from that, Johns Hopkins is known for robotics, while Nanyang is not specifically adept in that field. As I mean, as good as Johns Hopkins is. Like Johns Hopkins is ranked eighth in the world in robotics. Well, like Nanyang falls a little behind when it comes to critical robotics infrastructure and stuff that you need specifically to pursue my field of interest in robotics. Does that answer your question? If you're still here. Right. Malvika, was it? Innovation Garage and IT Warangal. I think the questions I've answered
Yeah.
most of them. So if anybody else has any more questions, you can always ask before we leave.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask you this.
Okay.
Does the current COVID scenario, is it going to affect how we are going to be applying, or like if there will be offline internships available or not?
All right. So the current COVID scenario, I can't speak again. I can't speak for NTU, but what I can say for sure is that there is always aspect to research internship towards computational research, where you just have to sit on your laptop and do the stuff. You don't need to work with hardware. So that kind of research internships they can still offer, but if it involves working with the hardware, like biotechnology projects and metallurgical engineering projects and core mechanical engineering projects like IC engines and thermal engineering and power production and that kind of projects, those won't be available. More projects, the kind of projects that will be more suited for this kind of a scenario would be computer science projects and ECE projects, specifically those which are working on Arduino, because an Arduino is pretty easy to get, or they can ship. Like for example, one of my courses in Johns Hopkins requires us to use a specific custom-made device for custom-made device that my professor made for the students like 10 15 years back. So they kind of shipped it to us like all the way from Baltimore to Hyderabad. So they did that for us. So small electronic components they can always ship it to you so that you can use, and then once the project is over you can ship it back. So that kind of projects is what they will be focusing on if COVID continues to summer next year.
Okay. If anyone has any other questions, no. I think we can end the meet right now. Then.
Yeah, we can
Thank
end the
you.
meet. I would say one last thing. People who have further doubts about the questions that I just answered are most welcome to take my contact and contact me. We could I mean, of course, through URA, not by yourselves. We could keep another specific 15-20 minutes maybe for discussing further.
Yes, of course. Like you can message IG's Facebook page or at Instagram, and we'll get back to you. And if there are enough people who have doubts, we'll arrange another session for this.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Uh, I guess that ends it. Thank you, Pranav, for coming and giving so much of your time to us.
Yeah, you're most welcome.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. You can leave now.